The desert wind howled through the cracked windows of Dustrock Auto, carrying with it the scent of rust, oil, and something older, like the ghosts of broken engines and men who'd run from their past. Logan Price wiped his grease-stained hands on a rag, the same way he had every day for the past 5 years. He liked the quiet, the silence of spinning wrenches and crackling radios. That silence died the moment they rolled in. 6 bikes, matte black, low and loud like thunder crawling over the sand. The locals knew better than to look, but Cassie, the girl working the front desk, froze. Logan didn't. He didn't stand up straighter, didn't reach for a weapon. He just kept tightening the bolt beneath the hood. Calm, measured. But his eyes flicked once toward the door. That was the only warning the Black Vultures were going to get. They called themselves the Black Vultures, a name that sounded like it belonged on a bad patchwork vest, not tearing up the gravel outside a desert garage. The leader, a wide-shouldered brute with a silver fang necklace and the arrogance of someone who'd never lost a fight, swung off his bike first. They called him Roach, the kind of man who smiled before hurting something. Behind him came 5 more. Tattoos, leather, beer breath, and the ugly swagger of men who liked to be watched. They didn't need repairs. They weren't lost. They were here because someone had told them about a quiet old mechanic who kept to himself. And quiet men, in their world, meant easy prey. Cassie stepped away from the front desk and instinctively positioned herself behind the tool rack. Her voice was small. "Logan, you know them?" "No," he said, tightening one last bolt. "But they're about to know me." Roach kicked over a bucket of coolant as he passed, watching the green liquid bleed across the concrete like it meant something. "Hell of a setup you got here, old man. Real peaceful." He walked up to the workbench, picking up a wrench, weighing it like a weapon. "Guess peace can be dangerous, though. You go too long without trouble, you forget how to handle it." Logan didn't speak. He didn't blink. He just shut the hood of the old Dodge truck with a metallic thunk, then turned around slowly. His sleeves were rolled up, arms corded with muscle, sun-darkened and marked by scars that didn't come from wrenches. His stare held no threat, just a stillness that made people wonder what it was holding back. Roach's grin faltered, only slightly, but Cassie noticed. The others spread out like a slow-moving oil spill. One perched on the workbench, another knocked over a stack of tires just to hear them crash. Roach kept circling Logan, dragging the wrench across the steel counter, letting the screech bite the air. "You see, we've got this little tradition," he said, voice dipped in fake politeness. "Every time we roll through a new town, we ask for, let's say, a donation. Just a small thank you for us keeping the roads safe." Logan didn't move. He just wiped the sweat from his brow and glanced at Cassie, then at the open garage door behind them. The desert was still, the sky bruised with late afternoon gold, but inside, the pressure kept rising. One of the bikers, Brick they called him, picked up a toolbox and dumped it out across the floor. Tools clattered, sharp and heavy, dancing like shrapnel. "Oops," he muttered. Cassie flinched. "Hey, that's—" Logan raised one hand gently, silencing her. Then he took a step forward. "You boys done?" he asked, voice quiet but sharp enough to cut leather. Roach smirked. "Not quite. We're still waiting for you to show us what kind of man you are." Logan's jaw flexed. One breath in, one breath out. "I'm the kind that builds things," he said, tone flat. "But I don't mind tearing something down, if I have to." That was the moment the room stopped breathing. Roach chuckled, tapping the wrench against his palm. "That's supposed to scare me?" Logan took another step. Not fast, not threatening, just inevitable. "I don't care what it does to you," he said, "but it might save you." That landed differently. One of the younger bikers, Rat, shifted uncomfortably. Cassie's eyes darted between the men, her hand now behind her back, clutching her phone. But she wasn't dialing. She was waiting. Roach puffed his chest, trying to reassert control. "You think you're some kind of tough guy?" Logan didn't answer. Instead, he walked to the wall, pulled down a socket wrench, and calmly set it back in the spilled toolbox, exactly in place. The sound of it clicking into its socket was the only thing anyone heard for 5 full seconds. Then, "I've seen tough guys," he said softly. "They bled out on hot sand thousands of miles from here. You don't even make the list." Roach's face twitched, something between rage and realization. He looked at Logan's hands now, really looked. The knuckles weren't calloused from tools. They were shaped by something colder, harder, trained. "You military?" Roach asked, voice lower now. Logan didn't blink. I was, until the job stopped being about protecting people and started being about forgetting them. That silence came back, thicker this time. He wasn't boasting, he was warning. Roach knew it, and for the first time, so did the rest of the crew. Brick stepped forward, trying to break the spell. He's just one guy, he muttered, reaching for a crowbar near the bench. Let's teach him some... Put it down. Logan's voice dropped an octave, not a shout, a sentence made of steel. Brick froze. He didn't know why. Maybe it was the way Logan's feet were planted, heels slightly apart, weight balanced, or maybe it was the way his eyes never left Roach, like Brick wasn't even a threat worth considering. Roach raised a hand. Easy, no need to get all twitchy. Logan's jaw didn't move, but his right hand slid into his back pocket, not fast, not slow, and pulled out a worn metal badge. Not a police badge, something older, military, faded, the kind issued for things most people never hear about. He tossed it onto the counter. It landed with a clink, spinning once before settling. See that? Logan said. That's the last time I ever needed permission. The meaning hit hard. It wasn't bragging, it was a warning. I don't need backup. I am the backup. Cassie, frozen by the tool rack, whispered to herself, Holy hell. No one moved. Roach looked around, at his crew, at Logan, at the distance to his bike. He did the math. He didn't like the answer. Then, without a word, he nodded. And that was it. The roar of engines faded into the distance, swallowed by the desert. Logan stood alone in the silence, the badge still resting on the counter like a ghost from another life. Cassie stepped forward slowly, eyes wide with something between awe and fear. You didn't even touch them, she said. He shrugged, wiping his hands on a rag. Didn't have to. She looked at him differently now, not just as a quiet mechanic, but as something far more unshakable, something built. As the sun dipped behind the hills, Logan returned to the engine bay, picking up right where he left off. Out here, in the middle of nowhere, trouble had come looking for a victim. Instead, it found a man who'd already survived worse, and knew exactly when to let silence speak louder than violence.